Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I wanted to do a part two after last night. The anxiety stuff kind of comes on and comes off like at random times sometimes. I don't really know why I was so anxious last night, but it was really funny because it was like I was trying to get through the review, and the more and more I tried to talk more about stuff, I just got more anxious, and so then I was making mistakes, and so I wanted to come back on, like, literally as soon as I woke up, so that I could do a part two to this review. But it's not that this movie is worth doing two parts of a review, it's the fact that I'm not pleased with having left out the stuff that I left out in the first part. So anyways, let's get started. I have notes too. I made sure to write down the things I wanted to say because I prefer to do it that way. I think it's more organized and there's less room for like just random shit that I could say. So number one, there's a big focus in this movie on vaping. And I don't really know why that is. I don't know what it is nowadays with, like, trying to push vaping on people as if it's cool or something. Like, they really try to make vaping look cool in this movie. And I gotta be honest, like, out of all the drugs in existence, like tobacco, alcohol, marijuana, the list goes on. Out of all the drugs in existence, I think that vaping is the stupidest looking out of, like, almost all of them. I think it's, like, in the bottom three of every single drug in existence. Because it's stupid and queer. To be honest, like, it kind of downgrades the film to have characters who vape, because I'm just not able to really identify or even like a character who vapes. And I'm saying that because, like, they have this whole bullshit thing nowadays with more representation. And, like, I can't feel like I see myself in a bunch of stupid characters who vape. Like, I honestly think that it's funny, too, the fact that, like, they don't really like to show a lot of smoking in movies nowadays, but it's okay to show vaping? Like, what's up with that? So, I really hated all the vaping in this movie. I thought it was unnecessary. I thought that it was really just kind of queer. Also, the trailer for this movie, I never mentioned it, but the trailer really looked boring. I couldn't get what the movie was going to be about from the trailer, other than men bad, women good. That's basically kind of the message of this movie. I mean, again, the message of this movie is very unclear until the very end. Because at the very end, it's like you see the outcome of all these events and you're like, wow, this movie's a really evil movie. But again, the trailer, I thought that maybe the trailer was so boring because they were trying to emphasize the Me Too stupid elements that nobody wants, or because they were trying to hide a lot of stuff from the movie. But what I forgot, and what I shouldn't forget, is that trailer editors literally get access to everything. Like, there's very few parts of a movie where the trailer editor isn't allowed to use that nowadays in a movie trailer. And so they were literally scraping at the bottom of the barrel with this movie to try to find interesting moments to put in the trailer. And now that I've seen the movie, I can definitely tell that, There's also this creepy Meg character, and she kind of serves a purpose in the movie, and she, for some reason, like, I don't know if she's good or evil or what she is, but, like, I don't know what her motivations are at all, because it sort of seems at first like she's a creepy evil maid, or something like it's not like in Get Out where it seems like she's under a spell or something. It's like she's very evil, and but then all of a sudden she gives this snake venom to the main character to drink, and the snake venom actually helps you remember after you've forgotten from the perfume. And so I didn't really get that of why she was helping the main character, and then she just disappears. I mean, this main character, she just disappears and pops up, and that's another thing is that, like, I could have understood that if, like, the island was, like, a really big, like, place to where, like, people got lost all the time in the movie. That's another thing that they could have done in this movie that could have made it a lot more scarier, is if people constantly got lost. Like, wouldn't it be funny, too? Like, you think about Epstein Island. Wouldn't it be funny if, like, maybe one of the bad guys got lost on the island? Like, that'd be really hilarious. Like, maybe, like, at night when they're doing, like, their weird rape sessions, like, before, like, they're like, okay, let's get started. And then, like, they're like, oh, wait, where's that other guy? And they have to, like, look around all over the island to find the guy. And, like, that's when the girls could escape or something. Like, that would have been interesting and funny. Like, that would have been good. Because that could happen, you know? And that would have made it a lot scarier in terms of, like, the ability for even a villain to get lost on this island. Because it's so confusing and creepy and weird. That's another thing is that, like, Epstein Island was really creepy. Like, of all the design elements all over the place, like, and there was also an ambulance on Epstein Island, which nobody even still knows how that ambulance got to that island, because it's not like it's illegally there. And so it's really weird how that got there. There's that clock thing with the sun, you know, that big clock thing with, like, all the stones. There's the doors that are just painted on the buildings. I mean, there's so many elements that make that island as creepy as it is. There's the possibility that there are, like, underground tunnels and shit, and none of that is used in this movie. And so it's, like, just a complete missed opportunity if you wanted to really push for the Epstein Island theme or setting, I mean. So yeah, the Meg character, she just randomly shows up at the end of the movie too. Like, after all the action, she just randomly shows up standing next to the main character, doing the same stuff she's done the whole movie. So yeah, I really didn't get that character. We never get any resolution with that character either. Like, we could have had a really... Well, actually, that's... I mean, she's remembering, I guess, because she likes to drink the snake venom. So I don't know what she's doing. She's just allowing all these women to get raped. And I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't get that character at all. There was no explanation or anything. And then I'd like to talk about the ending of the movie. There was a line near the end of the movie which was another, like, cringeworthy agenda line. Now, you know how a lot of guys like to say that they're nice guys? Like, because nowadays there's a big problem with women to where they choose the bad guys. They choose people who are lower quality, and then bad things happen to them, and then they complain that men are bad and, you know, that they can't date anyone, and they pretty much ignore all the guys who are, like, the quality guys. I mean, that's basically how it works out nowadays. It's a disgusting, like, cycle that's going on that society really has started to encourage with movies like Twilight, the Star Wars movies, you know, where Rey dates Kylo Ren. You know, I mean, they're encouraging that nowadays. And that's why, really, the dating world has gotten as bad as it's gotten. And this movie is yet another one of those movies that encourages women to date and to be with the bad guys, the guys who are like Channing Tatum's character in this movie. I mean, make no mistake, this is not a feminist movie at all. In no feminist movie would the main character end up with the rapist main character at the end of the movie and be really happy that she's able to be with him. So, but near the end of the movie, one of the guys says, "Oh my God, we're going to hell." And then the other guy says, "How could that be? We're such nice guys." And it's like, that line was so cringe because, like, again, these characters were really not characters at all. They were just like the actors, basically. It was almost like you were watching the actors like on a YouTube channel perform like a role-playing session. You know, like every single actor, none of them really had much of a character at all, like, except for, I guess, little tiny hints of a character, like with this line, "We're such nice guys." Like, I don't get that at all. I thought that line was really awkwardly placed. Like, it didn't make any sense at all to put that line there. It was once again something where it just felt like an agenda that was needed to put in the movie. And I do also acknowledge that there's a lot of lower quality guys who say that they're nice guys too. It's just the fact that, like, it's almost like an excuse nowadays of like, oh, if you say you're a nice person or a good person, then you're really not. But we do all the time, and we're all really nice people, so, you know, that's what they say. I mean, that, in my opinion. So, the ending's message, though, it's really funny because the ending of the movie, if you think about it, the message of the movie is to choose evil men like Jeffrey Epstein. Because this character of Channing Tatum, he is directly inspired off of Jeffrey Epstein. And at the end of the movie, with her choosing him, I really think that was not the right message to put in a feminist movie. I mean, I get that what it was that it was like trying to be like a role reversal of the Stepford Wives, but again, like, it's really, really bizarre and kind of weird that like a feminist movie would end with the main character sympathizing with the rapist villain and then hooking up with him so long as she can control him. Because again, it's like that thing of like, rape is okay as long as us women do it. That's basically another message of this movie. Because at the end of the movie, she's controlling him against his will, and two wrongs don't make a right. You know, a man raping a woman is wrong, and a woman raping a man is wrong. And yet, at the end of the movie, it basically fully endorses raping men and controlling men and brainwashing them, just like how the men were doing the entire movie. And I think that that's the wrong message to send. And I don't think that it was handled in a way to where you could just take it as a joke and take it as like a dark ending of like she gets to humiliate him and control him, because there was not really much of any. The only thing that was kind of, and another thing too, is that in the whole movie, Channing Tatum does not like to eat red meat. He refuses to eat it. And, you know, you had that whole thing yesterday with Safi and how she complained to me when I was saying that those contestants on MasterChef should have been forced to drink beer or leave the competition. You know, she disagreed with that. Well, at the ending of this movie, the main character, she is forcing Channing Tatum to eat red meat. You know, that's one of the things that she's doing to control him. And another thing, too, that I forgot to mention, another reason why that this is not a feminist movie at all, is because earlier in the movie, when Channing Tatum mentions that he doesn't eat red meat, the main character, she's such a terrible character. She's such a weak character. She takes the red meat on her plate and puts it back on the serving platter as if, like, because he doesn't eat red meat, she's not going to either. And he wasn't even trying to control her either. He wasn't trying to do like a Stepford Wives thing where he was telling her directly, like, you will not eat red meat. I do not allow you to eat red meat. Put the red meat back on the platter. You know, he wasn't pulling a Marnie on her or anything, and yet she puts it back voluntarily. So that's like another thing of like, wow, what a stupid character. Like, and so, yeah. So I really, really dislike the ending. It's another ending to where, honestly, if you didn't have the ending, I wouldn't have this movie in the top 10 worst movies of the year, but that's literally how bad the ending is. I mean, I really think that ending is like, wow. And then there's also a really cringeworthy scene where after the main girl knows that there's something wrong that's happening on this island, she gets the main character's vape and she secretly smokes it because she's still into him and she likes to put her lips on the vape that he put his lips on. I thought that was really bizarre and retarded and gross too. It was really awkward that like now that she knows something bad's going on, but she's still really into this evil character. See, that's what I mean. This movie really sends the wrong message, man. You know, movies like this are destroying an entire generation of women. And then there's also a part where one of the characters, he has a black eye for no reason. And if you guys don't know, that's a part of like the whole, I don't know how to describe it. Like it's a part of the world of Hollywood, where a lot of actors in Hollywood have a black eye for no reason. And a lot of people would believe, probably correctly, that they get a black eye because they get out of line. And so the powers that be, people behind the scenes, give them a black eye to remind them that they're their bitch. They're bitches. And so, like, for instance, Tom Hanks, you know, who's a very, very controversial figure in Hollywood now because people know what he's really up to. He had a black eye, and he was in this photo with Oprah and everything, and it was a very weird and creepy picture. And all these things, too, all these pictures like that, they do nothing to dispel the rumors that like all this stuff is going on behind the scenes. Like all they do is just make things worse. You know, like it's like, oh yeah, nothing's going on here, and then you post a picture like that of Tom Hanks with a black eye standing next to Oprah in this weird looking place, and like all the things in that place. Like, yeah. So, but one of the characters gets a black eye, and it's not really emphasized. It's never brought up again in the rest of the movie. There's no explanation for that at all. And I felt like that was a missed opportunity because that could have been really creepy. And I think that it was a good idea to include that, but it wasn't really handled correctly. Also, there were no occult elements in this movie. That's another thing that I kind of felt was like a missed opportunity because, again, these characters had no reason to do what they were doing. Except for the main character Channing Tatum's character, he has some kind of like an agenda himself of like, you can do whatever you want to someone and then you can make them forget and it's all good because they're still having a good time or something, like really weird. But every guy on this island, all the women that they're raping are women who would have slept with them anyway. You know, like, there's this part where they could have actually... They don't really do anything to suggest otherwise. Like, they don't do anything to suggest that, like, they all take turns on the different women or anything. Like, there is this part where she remembers that the therapist is basically witnessing what looks like feminazis think that rape culture is, where like the men are literally like chasing and tackling the women and raping them wherever and whenever they want at nighttime. And but the therapist, Kyle MacLachlan's character, I felt like this was a perfect opportunity for him to rape one of the women too, because that would have made it so much more creepy and evil. The fact that like they're all like switching it up and they're all like, just doing whatever they want, but it was this weird thing of like they were all raping the women that they brought to the island. So like they were all like raping the women who were already going to have sex with them. So there wasn't any reason for them to be doing that. Like in terms of like, there was no element of control. Like they didn't need to control these women to make them have sex with them. There wasn't really anything besides the fact that they were staying there on the island, and there wasn't really any point to which like they were going to leave. But obviously they were going to leave the island at some point. So I think something that we really needed to see was like the ultimate goal of what did they want to accomplish after these characters left this island. And I think once again they could have done that with Kyle MacLachlan. His character is gifted a thing of perfume, the perfume that can it's like I guess it's a date rape perfume. And we could have had something to where like Kyle MacLachlan has a wife who's really out of control or something, and then at the end of the movie she's acting like a Stepford wife or something. That's just like a simple way that you could have shown what these characters wanted to do outside of this island. Because on the island, this whole scheme that they were doing was kind of pointless. It was kind of pointless for them to be doing this like weird rape culture game at night. It was stupid. Also, the movie does not explore any feminist themes in like a clear and sensical way, because one of the messages of the movie is, as I said, Adria's character, she says that women need to stick together and to support each other, which is like a typical like feminist message of like women need to support women, even if the women are like Amber Heard, I guess. Women need to always support women. But at no point in this movie do we feel like the women don't support each other and the women are competing with each other. At no point in the movie do we feel like, that woman is at odds with that woman and they're fighting each other or anything like, and the men are making them fight. Like, there's no point where we feel like that. Even at the beginning of the movie, the main character and her best friend, another woman, they're working together to conspire to get into this rich people party so that they can have access to it and intermingle with all the celebrities. And so that whole message of women need to work together, well, in order to show that message effectively, you need to have like a portion of the movie where the women aren't working together and they're all like in trouble or something, like this movie was not well written at all. And so I think the message of the movie is more so to forgive and forget. Just like Zoe Kravitz has forgiven and forgotten Roman Polanski, one of the most evil men still alive on the face of the earth. I think that's the message of this movie. So yeah, this movie's an evil movie. I would recommend staying far away from it. It's a snooze fest anyway. It's not a good feminist movie. So, and then also the main characters face virtually no danger in this movie. That's what I meant by when I said yesterday that the ending of this movie felt like it was like a student film, because the way that the women were just so easily able to fight and defeat all the men was just really, really bizarre and unnatural. Like, it didn't feel real at all. It felt almost like I don't know, it just felt like a student film. It felt like something you'd see in high school. I mean, I saw a couple of films in high school that other people made, including myself. And it really reminded me of that at the end, to where it was so phony and fake. And then also, I would like to point out how Gina Feminazi Davis, she doesn't like movies where women's lives completely revolve around men. But in this movie, that's basically the whole movie for all the characters in the movie. Like the main character, her whole story is that she's in love with this guy, and she goes to the island to be with him, and it's all about being with him. Gina Davis's character, her whole life revolves around Channing Tatum's character. She's like the evil female worker for him or something. And so there is no like female character in this movie whose life doesn't revolve around the men. So that's what I think is hilarious. It's totally hypocritical, but we all know that feminists, they're not good with hypocrisy and double standards. They're very, very hypocritical themselves, because that's the thing about feminists. They're basically the opposite of sexists. You have evil men on the left who are sexist, misogynistic, whatever, and then you have on the right, the far right, you have feminists. And this movie just exposes it. I mean, if you're really telling me that like the feminist message of the year is that you should encounter like an evil billionaire rapist character like this Channing Tatum character in this movie, and that you should be with that character if you can control him, is really, really, really creepy and weird, and it just totally sends the wrong message. So again, this movie sucks. It's really bad. I can't even believe that I did a 2-part review, but that's just how it works sometimes. I just needed to make sure that all my points were heard so that I could, give this movie what it deserves, which is a big fuck you, especially after the ending. So anyways, please like this video and comment, and please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest reviews like this. I would also like to mention that the reason why I gave this movie a cookie crumble ice cream is because the cookie element represents like thriller, horror, suspense elements, and the chocolate ice cream is the feminist crap and just the boring plot that's in the movie. So it's like there wasn't really very many thriller, horror, suspense elements, as the title would suggest, cookie crumble. I mean, there's hardly any cookie in that ice cream. Most of the cookie was dissolved, and it was just little tiny crumbs of cookie that was in this ice cream, and it was really gross. If you want to get Kroger ice cream, I would recommend getting triple brownie or chocolate malt waffle cone flavor. Those have been some pretty good flavors that I've had over the past couple of weeks. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon.